Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here, and I have the Honorable Adam in the house. How are you doing, sir?
Awesome, man. So grateful to be here.
Awesome. Well, last time I talked to you, you were in California. You're not in California anymore. Last time I talked to you, you weren't running a big business. You're doing that.
That's right.
It's funny, and you'll love this. We chat a little bit beforehand. I would say half of my roster and two of my new hires in the HVAC company are ex-military. I love these guys, right? They're just get in and get after it, right?
Mission accomplishment.
Mission accomplished, right? And they're so funny because they're like, if you treat me right, I'm not going anywhere. And they're like, we'll stay forever. And I'm like, that's exactly what I need, So fill us in with kind of like, you moved across the country. Yeah, you got some stars put on your chest, a couple of weeks ago. You now you have ownership of a huge company. You're everywhere. Just kind of fill us in with everything that you have going on.
Yeah, so I I think last time we talked, I don't remember exactly where I was, but I'm still active duty Marine. I had started wholesaling and flipping on my own. It was going pretty well. And then I joined a mentorship group, and I actually ended up partnering with the person who owns the mentorship group, and basically took over an entire company that was doing between 50 and 150 deals a year. We did almost, I don't know, 40 or 50 last year, and we'll probably maybe we'll land on 60 or so this year. Flips, wholesales, novations. And then I've also have a rental company added. I think we added 6 units to our portfolio this year. We're like mid rehab on those. Had some bad tenants and did some cash for keys and all that kind of thing. And then kind of started looking at verticals, and that's where I'm at now. Is running a business. We did about 1.5 million last year. Probably do the same this year. Maybe a little bit more. And now I'm looking at verticals. How can we maximize our margins and serve more people?
Yeah, so the real question is like, what could you do if you didn't have a day job?
Yeah.
It's just like, how much longer do you have in the Marines?
Yeah, so I can retire in about 24 months.
Okay.
Like officially retire, probably be out in about 18.
Okay.
So not too much longer, but I still enjoy serving every day in the Marine Corps. So I'm not like I'll be grateful when I'm retired, but I'm certainly enjoying my last moments here.
Mm-hmm. And the same question I'm sure everybody asks you that ever talked to you is like, how do you juggle it all?
Yeah, I
Your
get
dad
that
too.
Yep.
That's the standard question, right?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, actually. It's probably one of the most common questions. How do you do it all? Well, you just do it. You just wake up every day and you do it. There's no magic pill. There's no morning routine that you can do that will make you want to do it. You just do it. You do the things whether you want to or not, and you have a clear vision on what needs to happen, and an idea how it needs to get done. And don't let great get in the way of good enough. Just execute. That's kind of how I'm approaching business.
And I think that's one of the things that drives me crazy is that everybody's reading all the books, they're listening to all the podcasts. This is a podcast, which is interesting for me to say this, but they're joining the masterminds, they're doing all the things, which is all great stuff, and I've done all those things. But there's not really a secret recipe. Like it's what works for you. Like I was joking today on our company meeting. Like I have 50 meetings this week from Monday to Thursday at 4:00, right? And but just wait, I don't feel like I'm doing enough this week. like everybody is their own. In my meetings cover, software for the new company, hiring a CEO, hiring 3 techs, meetings about money, coaching clients, podcast, like it's the gamut, right? And everybody's
Yeah.
and so like I still don't feel, but like nothing in my schedule makes me not want to click Zoom.
Yeah.
Nothing, like it's all part of the game. Now it took me years to get there, but when you have that, it really like it doesn't really feel like you're just like it doesn't feel like a struggle is what I mean.
You go on this journey and you get excited initially. You're like, wow, there's this path to financial freedom, there's this ability to level up, and you're wide-eyed, and your passion and your desire for that is so high that you jump in spite of your fear. And then you get on the journey. And this is where the fork in the road happens. And this is what I've seen over the last 2 years is it gets hard because if it was easy, everybody would do this. It gets hard and you're either going to say, you know what, this isn't for me. I was actually comfortable and okay being comfortable. Or you're going to say, I can still see what's on the other side of that. And you're going to stay uncomfortable. You're going to struggle. You're going to learn. You're going to iterate until you get to the other side. And you might be content there, or you might want to keep growing. And at each level, and I'm still so far down on this journey, I feel like, but I have mentors who are leaps and bounds ahead of me, and I watch where they're at. My mentor is in a meeting with Grant Cardone today, right? Like he's at a completely different level than me. So I get to just observe that and see what it's like at his level of the journey. But at every level, there's struggle, there's wins. And if you're continually passionate and motivated and you really like you did all of that and you
Well,
probably it probably didn't feel hard.
Like 2 hours ago, I'm arguing with my team because my accountants, the people that watch the money, are bitching and moaning to me about how many people I can hire. And here I am like a raging bull. I'm like, dude, let's just go, and like, but I respect them to say like, I get it, but like you could save your shit for somebody else because I'm out there charging, right? But we all have the same way that you're surrounded by, Bill, and he's over there, like you're surrounded by that to get comfortable with kind of that. You can kind of like, it's so hard to describe, but you get exposed to that level so much that at some point you just in your own self level up too. Like it's like you get around that kind of like, I guess for lack of a better word, speed, what I'm saying, like the speed of like thought,
Dude, one thing I've learned over the past probably 18 months that I see the people having the most success is speed of decision making is such a critical skill. I'm not sure exactly how you develop it. Some of it is your own courage, some of it is the knowledge you built, the experience you have, the skills you're acquiring, but having the courage to make the decision and doing it fast, doing it quickly, having the knowledge to feel good about making that decision, man, those are the people who you're seeing on the next level and the level after that.
Somebody proposed it the other day, some guy I really respect. He goes, look, the information's out there. It's never been easier to start a business. So really the only thing that exists that's going to make a difference in the market is speed.
Yep. Make a decision, start executing quickly, and start iterating.
Because we become a society of, let's say I make a decision and in 30 days to 60 days it's not the decision that needed to be made. There was still stuff that was learned from there, and you can pivot. I find the bigger issue in business right now is when stuff used to unfold for months or a year at a time, a new trend, dude, it's changing in like 7 days.
Oh, it's
like,
rapid.
And like you have to be head on the swivel at all times right now.
Yeah.
Like that's the difference in the market right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think speed of decision making is such a undervalued and critical skill and thing to implement as a business owner or somebody even trying to, build something.
Well, my joke with young kids, it's like, 20, 25, 26, it's like how far you got to fall, like from the floor to the couch. Like it's a lot different decision when you're 40, you got a mortgage, you got 3 kids. But like if you're young, like just take insane action and just break everything and break, like morning routine, like screw all that stuff. Just go out, work too much, meet too many people, network, buy real estate, start businesses. And I really feel like that first couple of years is nothing more than practice.
No, you're spot on, like 100%. And that's the thing. This is not a credit to me by any means. I heard somebody say this, I can't remember, is like you need to have experience over time, and that develops your skills. Like you need skills. And the only way to get those skills, you can read all the books in the podcast like this, and it's really important to do that. I think that's definitely part of the game. But you've also got to have experience and you got to have time, right? You have to have time in that experience. You have to be doing that thing to learn those lessons. Can you cut that time down by getting a mentor or being in a group or whatever it may be? Sure, to a certain degree. But at the end of the day, where the rubber meets the road is your experience and execution, developing those skills over time.
So talk to us, like you just joined a mastermind to learn more. And then fast forward and now you're like, talk us through like how that even
Yeah.
became where you're running the business. I mean, that's kind
Yeah,
of
I
an
think
and then you're speaking on stage. It's like, what is going on, right? Like, just like how, talk us through like how that came about, because I was joking the other day on a call in our mastermind, like the guy that owns half of one of the larger Airbnb companies I know started with me for free, got introduced to that guy, and now he owns half of a company, like, so you just joined a mastermind and then boom, now you're running a multi-million-dollar company. Like, talk us through that.
yeah, so simple, just like everybody, I had the dream of financial freedom, and I looked at, hey, this military career ends at some time. Like, what am I going to do next? Like, am I going to be a lost soul? My identity was tied into that. And I found the financial independence world, I found the real estate world, and I just started like bumping around in the dark. And I tried a little multifamily, some apartment stuff. I did a couple different things, and then I just settled on 2 skills, and that was finding discounted deals, period, of any variation, and raising private capital. And I felt like if you could do those 2 things, you could really dominate any niche. So I joined a mastermind, a real estate mastermind, 7-figure flipping. You see it on the wall back there. Because I saw Bill Allen and he was a military guy, and I connected with that. And I joined that group to acquire those skills and to shortcut my learning curve. Got in there, absorbed the content, as you would imagine, put myself into a different room, had different conversations, and I just was executing and iterating myself to deals. Went basically in 5 months, went 0 to $100,000 in gross. Most of that was net profit because I had very low overhead as a one-man team with a couple VAs. And then what you find is like opportunities just open up. Opportunity came, said, hey, this company, like I have these other companies, I can't go back to it, lost my COO. Basically, do you want it? I said, yes, I'll take it. So I took majority share of the company significantly, and just started running that company. And it wasn't without challenge. It wasn't perfect. It was there was a lot of turnover, a lot of things I had to do, a lot of leadership. Even after 18 years serving in the military, a lot of leadership challenges. And then from there, I just started perfecting different exit strategies for properties because I had felt really good about my ability to do marketing, to do sales, to build a sales team, to start to put a team around it, to cultivate the team I had around it. And of course, not without challenge, as you know, as a business owner, that's a hard thing to do. And then now it's just about really adding verticals to it and how we can serve more clients in a better way and provide options. Basically, our goal is If somebody calls us because they potentially have a problem to solve, we want to have every option available to them.
And so you talk about leadership, you would think coming from the Marines and, their kind of system that you would have leadership dialed in. So I'm interested to hear kind of the challenges that were afoot in the business. Was it not so much, was it culture, or was it just expectations of team, or was it just like organization stuff that was not worth?
I think it was a combination of all of those. Number one, I inherited a culture, and I had to instill the culture that I bring to the company. And that's just a reality. I have a certain personality, I have a certain vision, and I wanted certain people on my team. So I turned over every single person on the team except for one. Um, so that was the first challenge. And it wasn't that these people weren't necessarily good, they just weren't necessarily culture fits. I actually have two people on the team now from that original crew. And what I found was in the military, they have the 80-20 rule too. 20% of the people are producing 80% of the results. But that's expounded when you have a business with a bottom line and a top line and expenses and real numbers, and everybody's actually being measured on the merits of their daily performance, right? In business, you have things called key performance indicators. And
I feel like I'm back in the meeting from today. Get out.
yeah, and everybody on the team has a number, right?
Well, you have to justify, right? You have the team, right? Just like you have the team of the guys that are producing money, and the people that aren't, you have to justify that their role makes sense within the structure of the allocated funds.
Yeah.
But they might not be producing the cash. And so it's like, you got to like get creative, right? You got to figure it out. Yeah.
You got to get creative, and in this kind of business, and any kind of business that's heavy on marketing and sales, whether that's to market and acquire real estate assets, or that's to market to drive e-commerce business to a website and then convert it in sales. I mean, it's just a what have you done for me today type thing. It really is, which is why most businesses, to include Fortune 500 companies, operate off of KPIs, key performance indicators. Everybody has a number. As an example, if you're the marketing director in our company, you're measured off of the number of leads you produce. How many leads do you produce on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis, right? And is that number in line with our goal, which we have stated helps us to meet our revenue? We make money decisions based on the projections of our company. So like you're saying, if I think we're going to get to $2 million this year based on these numbers, this expense spend, and we're falling short, well, then, I mean, that's when you have to make hard decisions. You either have to find a way to energize your team, help your team develop the skills they need to overcome the obstacles they're having, or you got to do some top grading. You got to, keep the best, cut the rest. And that's the hard part about business.
And when it comes down to discount properties and finding off market things, to say I don't get, 5 to 10 DMs a week, about how do you find off market Airbnbs? How do you find off market properties? It's the number one thing that if I had to, what do you think people are getting wrong when it comes to looking for, off market properties or finding discount properties?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. I think for most people who aren't going to spend money, which I think, if you're new listening to this or watching this somewhere, you don't want to go out and just start spending 50 grand a month on marketing, because you don't probably know what you're doing. But you can still find off market deals. There's a whole ecosystem of people like our business. That's what they do for a living, is they go out and they market, they send mail, they do Google ads, they do all these different marketing strategies to find deals and negotiate them at a deep discount, get them at a discount, solve a problem, and then put them on a secondary market to people who flip houses, people who rehab houses for rentals, for Airbnbs, you name it. And it is so easy. You literally have to go onto Facebook, search your city, county, or area name with wholesale deals or real estate investor deals or off-market real estate deals. So combine your area with that. Go in there and post and say, my name is Austin Linney. I'm a cash buyer with proof of funds. I need to buy my next short-term rental by the end of the month. Please send me any deals you have. And create an email just for this. Give those people your email and it will fill your inbox with off-market deals. And then you will just have to start underwriting and making offers, regardless of what they're asking for. You should always be making offers based on your numbers.
And how do you underwrite property? I mean, everybody has their own way. I know, but like, how do you go about? Do you work with real estate agents? Do you have a system that you use?
Yeah, so we have a couple different systems. We use PropStream, Batch Leads, the MLS, all these different systems that are available to you to get on and comp properties. So the way that we underwrite deals, so we're looking for a couple different types of residential assets. We're looking for a flip or potentially a rehab rental or potentially an Airbnb. The number one thing you have to be able to do is determine what the after repair value of a property is based on comps. So how do you do that? For us, we go on, we look at our subject property and we compare the properties that sold within the last 30, 60, or 90 days that are the most similar to our property and the closest to our property. So if I have a 3-2, 1,200 square feet in a specific subdivision, I would be looking for a flipped 3-2, 1,200 square feet in the same subdivision. And I would only expand out in distance once I've looked in close. And if I can't find it out in distance within, say, maybe a half mile to a mile, I'll bring that distance back into the subdivision and then I'll expand out in time. If I can't get last 30, 60, or 90 days, then let me see what happened in the last 180 days or 360 days. And if you do that though, be warned, if you're using comps from Q2 of 2022, those are not good comps. Not that you can't use them, you just need to deduct 5 or 10% off the top based on your market and how it's corrected since July. So that's number one, find the after repair value. Second thing really that you need to be able to do is determine rehab cost. Now you can never be perfect on this. So you have to have a decent understanding of generally what rehab costs are. What does a roof cost? Well, if you're in Florida, it probably costs you about 12 grand. If you're in Milwaukee, it might only cost you 6, 7 grand. So it depends on your area. What does an HVAC cost? What are the big mechanicals cost on a property? And then from there, the rest of it's all pretty similar nationwide. It can be more expensive in certain places, but maybe it's $20 a square foot for a cosmetic on the inside, roughly speaking. Maybe it's $28 for like a medium rehab where you got to move some walls and replace a whole kitchen and things like that. And if it's kind of like maybe not down to the studs, but everything is bare on the inside and we're doing everything new, it's probably $35 a square foot, right? So you got to be able to estimate rehab and you don't have to be perfect on the rehab, but you have to be somewhere in the median, right? Because every flipper or every person or even everybody's going to have a little different construction costs. So those are the two big things. So for us, we determine the after repair value. We subtract, if we're going to wholesale it to a flipper, we subtract the margin that we think the flipper will want to make. So in most markets today, with where we're at, flippers want to make at least 50 grand, right? Another way that people do it is take that after repair value and times it by 70%. So if you had 100 grand after repair value times 70 is 70,000. Back out repairs, say repairs are 20,000, that brings you down to 50. And then say you want to make 15 grand on your wholesale fee, now you're down to a $35,000 offer on that property. The reason we times it by 70 is because that creates a 30% margin. Well, what's inside of that 30% margin for the back end flipper investor? 20% of that needs to be profit, right? So 20 grand on that $100,000 house on the back end, that's a pretty good profit for a low risk investment. And 10% of that is going to go towards cost, right? The cost of an agent on the back end, the cost of the insurance, the cost of the utilities, potentially some of the other holding costs. So I'm factoring in their holding cost and their profit. And that's how I'm negotiating a deal so deep that I can add my fee on top of it and still sell it. Now, we might flip it ourselves. We do that too. We've got a few flips on the market, or we may rehab it and rent it. We're doing that as well.
So I think that's where a lot of people have it wrong. When you're breaking down a property and underwriting it, you're thinking about the investor on the back end already, instead of just I'm just going to get a deal done. And then you have a deal that you can't move because you didn't work the numbers right. And I think that's where everybody, they call it Astro wholesaling, whatever. It doesn't matter.
That's
but
the worst. The worst.
Yeah, that's the worst, right? But what I'm saying is, my buddy has taught me, my mentor who does 400 deals a year, is he always walks into a house. He's an agent too, but he always walks into a house as an investor first, and then he backs out the different options that he would have, right? So I'm an investor. Well, then I'm an agent. Well, then I'm, an Airbnb. He's working through all the faces of who he could be in that deal. And that's why he always looks at a deal. And so this is where I get confused, right? And this is the argument I have. I interviewed a guy today that manages 300 agents. He's like, I don't understand how these agents don't get that their clients are making tons of money, and yet they're just happy with their little commissions, right? And this is why you're kind of creating something. I don't know much about it, but you're creating something for, kind of, is it investor friendly agents or working with the investors?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So here's what happened. And this is why this is important. There's so much synergy between these things. Number one is people like me who have off-market marketing companies. I'm marketing for off-market deals. I spent a bunch of money on marketing. And I went back and looked at my data from July to September, and then from September to November 11th. And what I determined was these people come in, they reach out to our company in various different marketing mediums, and they say they have a house and they want to sell it. And then we come into them and we have only one or two tools. Maybe it's the cash hammer with the low cash offer. Maybe it's a creative finance deal. Maybe it's an innovation, you name it, right? And those don't fit. And I looked at the data and I saw probably $35 million of real estate was transacted from the leads that came into my company. Not my personal transactions, but somebody else listed those properties. And that was the catalyst for me to go, okay, I'm missing out on market share. Let me go explore the retail space. Up until this date, I had thought in my mind, and I'd always been taught and mentored that the agent side, the retail side is a distraction. Because last week I got a house under contract for $1. And the only reason I'm paying $1 is because we had to put something on there. And the lady was adamant about giving it to me, a literal house for one singular dollar. I'm not even exaggerating. I'll show you the receipts, right? And so at the same time, I was getting other leads that they just were retail leads. They wanted to list their house. And so I started exploring, how can I help agents make more money? Let me start with that kind of thesis, that kind of hypothesis. If I can help agents make more money, maybe I can figure out what's going on in this agent space. So I start figuring out ways to get agents on listing appointments. As I'm doing this, I started talking to brokers and agents, and I probably interviewed 100 agents. And what I found is people join the retail space because that's an easy, low barrier to entry way into real estate. They think they want something, but what they don't realize is a real estate agent is just a sales professional. They do sales. Sales is a dog eat dog world. It is not, you don't just get to show up and closings fall in your lap. And I think a lot of agents, they hear that, but they don't understand what that means. They don't understand what it means to make 100, 200, 300 phone calls in a day or go door to door. They just don't. They really don't. So I start talking to these agents, and I find out that I start to learn about how they get paid, what their commissions are at a deeper level. how these team splits work. And I'm like, why would you be on a team? Just do it yourself. Like, oh, well, you join a brokerage because they tell you they're going to give you leads and they're going to give you some training and all these things. They promise all these things. And I'm unhappy. I'm not getting leads. I'm not getting training. I'm like, well, I have a ton of leads and I need somebody to close them. So then I start to realize there's some marriage here. And I'm like, man, do I really want to be involved in the retail space? Well, the more agents I talked to, I realized it was almost a requirement for me to help serve that industry and kind of shake that up. All these people in here who are making money off of other people, but not with a heart to serve them and help them grow their wealth. And I just started, I went and hired a mentor in the retail space to help me crack the nut on this.
Before we continue the story, it's the words, like the sentence that you used was the exact sentence that we used. The reason we're starting the mergers and acquisition is that the more you dove in, like we dove in, I don't have a choice. Somebody has to serve these business owners on their dream, their retirement plan, right? And like you get to a point, like it's like, and I don't mean to like over hyperbole, like it's not a calling, like I'm not doing anything magical here. It is impactful, right? But you almost get to a point where you're like, I mean, I gotta do this. Like it's, and that's where I feel like you got after talking to enough agents, because this is, and I think that's why I want to hit on it before we dive into farther. These things are choices. You don't have to start this business, but you've chosen to, because your ultimate kind of need is, I want to serve others, and this is an avenue I can do that. Like I have a sneaking suspicion that it might be one of your most successful businesses ever, because that's the mindset you went into it.
Yeah. And I totally agree. I see a ton of opportunity, and my goal. So I went down this path. I got a mentor in the retail space, right? Because I'm an expert at marketing and sales. That's what I'm an expert at. I know a ton about real estate, but I'm really an expert at marketing and sales. And I know that the retail space requires marketing and sales to make money, but I'm not a retail agent, or at least I wasn't, and I'm not yet. I will be. So I wasn't a retail agent, and I was like, I need some type of retail backing. I need a mentor. I need somebody with some credibility, some teeth, and I want somebody who's doing it right. So I went out and talked to some people, and I found a mentor who has an incredible team, incredible culture, incredible training. He's got access to all the things anybody could ever need doing real estate. And I said, okay, great. Let's get together, because you're going to help me. And what I need for you to do is let's make sure we can provide and make people money, and everything will come into place. So you're going to provide the retail training. He's got access to phenomenal groups that a lot of people want to be in, all this stuff. You're going to provide that. I'm going to go build a team. I'm going to provide leads. I'm going to lead generate for these people, and I'm going to help them with their sales and conversions. And we're not here to take all their money from them. I know team splits and all this other stuff I've been learning about is kind of a heartache for folks. We're here to make them money. And my goal, when I started doing this about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, was, man, I'm looking at my numbers and how many leads I generate. I can make agents $2 million in professional fees just off of the leads I already generate. So if I can make other people $2 million off of that, I'll certainly make money, and I'll create something that there is a desperate need for. And it's just going to be disruptive. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm starting to implement. I built out a process that can teach not just agents how to work with investors, but also help investors to partner up with agents who know how to convert leads. And we've created a system, improving it. We launched maybe 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and we used our system that we created based on trial and error, and found that there's a couple things. One, there's a certain way you have to set the agent up for the close, and two, there's a certain way you have to do a handoff. And through tons of trial and error, we learned how to do that. We started doing that. I think we set in 1 week, we set 8 listing appointments and had 4 listings signed up. So we proved the model. It was like, okay, we found an agent who we could pour into, who can close, that we know, like, and trust. We provided the leads, set the in-person appointments, they closed the deals. It was phenomenal.
Mhm. Yeah, I spent the last 4 years coaching a ton of agents, still have a couple on my roster. And, I never understood this like dog eat dog mentality. Like, it's like, if you truly want to create like freedom for your life and freedom money and all these things, like you have to continue to uh, pivot and learn and create a system and processes and gain team members, and whether that be transaction coordinator or listing specialist, whatever that be. um if you don't have those things, you're going to be running around like a chicken with your head cut off. And this is wholeheartedly, like, there's two professions I worry about the most. It's teachers and real estate agents, because they have no boundaries.
They have no boundaries.
They
They're
have no
left to their own
boundaries. They don't
devices.
take any time for themselves. Like, I'm like, seriously, like, I'm not joking. Like, I'm being dead serious. This is not some joke I'm making. Like, I'm worried, like, about real estate agents. And until you create boundaries, freedom, systems, processes, and you learn there's a better way to do it, than chase down that the client that's not going to buy, right?
Yeah,
Let's work
and
with the people that are going to buy or
work
sell.
with have a system to spend your time on the people who you can actually serve and that are going to buy or sell their house. That's number one. Number two is create systems and processes within that. Leverage not just like transaction coordinators, but leverage investors, leverage other real estate agents. And what I found over the last 2 or 3 weeks of my study is that there is this really, technology has really disrupted the retail space in a big way recently. And what I'm seeing is that there are all these paths where agents can grow businesses, true businesses, where they can go into production, figure it out, put together the systems, build a great network, build their sphere, and have a wonderful model. And then they can take themselves out of production and get into more of an owner's box type role. There are so many formats out there for them to do that through all these newer. Keller Williams brokerage has things you can do. EXP has things. There's these new spinoff EXP brokerages. There's all this. There's now this new technology and format. They've killed the kind of mom and pop franchise brokerage thing that allows agents to build a legitimate business and be able to put those boundaries in place and be able to leverage where it makes sense to leverage. But that doesn't come until you put the work in, Austin. And I think you and I both know that. The real trick and key in any business, not just as retail, in my opinion, is realizing when to start pulling yourself into an owner's box or to start putting those boundaries on, because we will tell ourselves that lie. I'm doing it for the business all the time as business owners. And I think retail agents oftentimes are like mini business owners.
Well, it's the thing that I lead every meeting with my team the same way, because we have, they're all, in different professions, 20 plus years in hedge funds, private equity, all around, right? We've all done it. We've owned businesses. And I said, look, I get that we're all doers, and I respect the hell out of you for being that person. But we created this private equity firm to be lifestyle business owners. If we don't understand that we have to operate from that lens, then we created a job, and that's not why I showed up for this.
Yeah.
And so when we steal the CEO that's coming over from a $50 million HVAC company, like, best believe, like, I can't do this without him. Like, and so, like, just having that mindset of saying, he can't do it without me, I can't do it without him, creating a win-win, let's go out and attack this, right, is kind of my reminder to them and myself, like, yeah, you can get your hands dirty, but you're also in a different phase of your career. Like, you've done the work, you've made the connections, you've leveraged, like. And so it's like, wherever you are, who's ever listening to this, like, it might be time for you to kind of start building something, greater than what's in front of you, right? I think that's my hope, is that you can listen to these podcasts, read these books, and realize that there's another level out there, and now might be the time to go seek it.
Yeah, if you feel stuck, now's the time to start. Pick your head up, start looking around and figure out how you can leverage. Figure out who can help you leverage, whether that's hiring somebody or finding a mentor or just reaching out to somebody else who you see doing it. There's plenty of people out there that want to help. So I would say pick your head up, look around, figure out how you can leverage. Be honest with yourself about where you're at and go find the people, the person, the group, the whatever that's going to help you to build something that you initially set out to do in the first place.
Is that live to the public or is it in beta still?
I'm just in conversations right now, figuring out, like pro
So
bono.
people just want to
who
reach
needs
out
help.
to you.
Yeah,
How would they do
absolutely.
that, through Instagram or something like
If
that?
if you are a real estate agent, I want to talk to you. I am learning a ton about your space. I'm already finding ways to provide value and help people make money and leverage. So yeah, you can reach out to me on Instagram, official Adam
Dude,
Whitney,
I got a guy you
Facebook.
can talk to. I'm actually living in his back house right now. He's a top agent in Austin. Dude, he went to work on some off-market deals and found so many. I was like, dude, why aren't you working with investors? you, mobile home parks and RV parks and storage facilities and Airbnbs. And I was like, dude, you need to this needs to be your
Now's
focus,
the
man.
time. Now's the
Yeah.
time. Listings are down, transactions are down. Listings are sitting like there. You need to find ways to survive the gap in the retail or the residential space. This is a time for investors and agents to come together and make each other some money and help each other grow their businesses. So reach out to me on Instagram. You can just look up Adam Whitney, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. It really doesn't matter what platform. Just reach out to me. I want to talk to you. I want to figure out, what I have to offer you, and I want to learn from you.
Awesome. Is there any message you want to leave the audience with before we head out of here?
Yeah, I think this is what I would tell people. It was probably 2 years ago. I was on this show with you, and I'm maybe a year and a half ago. I'm just so impressed, man. If you're listening to this show, number one, it takes 2 seconds to leave a 5-star review. If you got a single sentence of value, I feel like you can give 2 seconds of your time to leave a 5-star review. And then the second thing I would, if you're so kind to do it, is to share it with at least one friend. I think people don't know the work you put in and the value you bring, and it's all free. Nobody's paying for your time. Your time is so
Dude,
valuable.
I mean,
5-star review, share it
you're
with
the
one
best.
friend.
You're the best. I talked to a guy today, dude. Like, true story. Sleeping on his mom's couch. Got his real estate license. Went to a random meeting with some dudes in 2008 and wound up doing 750 transactions with these guys.
Wow.
And it's like, to have his access to chat with him, it's like he owns a brokerage of like 300 agents now. That's a crazy story on its own.
Wow.
Sold his company, and then they gave it back to him 2 years later.
Wow.
It's like that's the joy of this. Like, I can't thank you enough for telling everybody all that. But that's what's crazy. It's like, true. Another story. When Clubhouse was a thing, this young kid knew me. He got into a room with a guy that had done $1.8 billion worth of real estate, and then me, and then one other dude that was like a huge guy in the commercial space just happened to be in the room. And now, that was a year and a half ago. Now he owns 5 properties.
Wow.
And
That's so
that
awesome.
conversation was free. And it's like, I mean,
It's
seriously,
free.
even I was sitting there, right? And it's like, what I was talking about with that guy earlier today is his whole life has changed, everything, because he said yes.
Say yes, get in one room, leave that 5-star review, show my man some love.
But I will say this, guys.
I say
guys,
this.
Anybody knows Adam has introduced me to so many people too. So I appreciate the effort.
Yeah, man. And I say all that sincerely because I know what it takes and I know how valuable people's times are. And, this isn't a podcast that started yesterday. You've been doing this for a while. And I listen in when I can. And I'm like, man, this is such a good podcast. So, yeah, that's why I say it, man. I'm appreciative and grateful for your time.
Awesome. Well, my podcast producer said I need to start asking for more reviews. So thank you for lighting the fuse. So, but guys, If you like this episode, send it to your friend like he said. Leave us a review, and we'll see you next time, guys.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.